Perfect. Yeah, feel really good about spring. I thought we took advantage of all the 15 practices and really got a lot of good work in today. Had some really good focus on our stuff yesterday, and then I think this was a really good week for us. Looking forward to taking the next step forward and making sure that we keep our leadership thriving and keep our team culture going. So that's going to take a lot of work with the players on the team leading the way, and for us as coaches to provide opportunities for them to be leaders. And so really looking forward to the next phase, and that's going into last year only having 5 practices. You're kind of with everything. I mean, everyone had to deal with the pandemic, but this year being able to get the 15 practices in, and then knowing what we have talent-wise on our team currently, and then what else we're adding, I think is going to be really cool to get that transition going and having everybody be ready to roll. So I'm looking forward to the next phase, which is the off season, and making it work and trying to make sure that we put our guys in a position to have a lot of success, starting with game 1. So whatever questions you guys have, I'd love to answer them.
Hey, Kalani, what was it like to have so many representation from the NFL down in Provo today for Pro Day, and your thoughts on how your guys performed in front of all the coaches and scouts?
Yeah, I really liked seeing. I mean, it was really cool to see that many teams, coaches, GMs, to have ESPN and NFL Network there, and just having. There's a lot of buzz. I think it was really exciting to have our players be able to perform under those circumstances and in that environment. I'm really thankful that our we were able to provide a nice setting for the scouts and for the coaches and the GMs to have an easy pro day transition. That's something that's going to be really important to us. I think we've made that important since I think it's always been important here, but that's something that's got to be a really special day for our program, and seeing the results and having conversations with coaches and then telling them that our guys are going to run certain times, and then having it work out perfectly made us look like we know what we're talking about, and that we have a good feel on these guys when they're testing for us. And so but it was really cool, a good motivation for our players to see themselves in that position, and know that they can compete, and the measurables, the things that you're going to have to do to stand out in all those all the different the testing, whether it's a broad jump or the short shuttle or the 40. That was really cool for our guys to see, and really nice to have Zach get out there and just showcase his strengths. So it's going to be a lot of fun seeing those guys go into the league. We have a lot of guys on our team that are I think are going to be future NFL players and draft picks, and looking forward to making sure that they develop more and get them in the position where they're going to have that type of success that we saw from the guys perform today.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Lonnie, what improvements do you feel the quarterback room made from practice 1 in spring to now practice 15?
They all got really good, and that's, I say that because they're making things really difficult, because you could see all of those guys in a position to lead our team on the field. So that's I saw them progress and get better in so many different areas, and start to own the offense, and especially with the amount of reps that they had. It wasn't like they had a bunch, they're split between the 4 of them, but I can say every one of those quarterbacks got better. That's a huge compliment to what A-Rod's done, and then also the preparation that these quarterbacks have made, and from last year to now, they've always had that talent, but I think they're all ready to take over the reins, and like I said, we're going to play the best one. So good competition. Look forward to seeing it play out even in the summer.
What will be some of the tasks? You mentioned that it's the off season now. Dead period's going to go on until May 31st. So what becomes some of the things that you and the staff are going to be working on now that spring ball is in the rearview mirror until recruiting kind of opens up again in the summer?
Well, I think that's the key, is work. We're going to go to work, and our guys the concept of staying hungry is going to be the key. And so finding ways to get better and have that standard that we've set for our players and that expectation of success. That just doesn't happen with hope. Hope is not a good strategy. So we're going to set out and do things deliberately to get our team better and develop players right away and get better depth. And so I thought we utilized the practice as well to get guys on film to see what we can work on, and now the work goes on where we can individualize it and have some expectations as coaches for these individuals that we have on our team, and make sure that they meet our standard. And so we're going to have this high demand of teaching and learning throughout the off season, and it's going to be uncomfortable. That has to happen. Guys are going to be uncomfortable, but a lot of progress is going to happen from it.
If I could just get one more quick follow-up real quick. College football this year, there's going to be so many teams with returning experience, especially on your schedule, where teams have 80 to even 90% returning. Does that concern you at all that your team, so much newness in a year where college football around the board is going to be with so many returning guys because of that extra year?
Well, I don't know if a lot of them played 12 games, so they've probably got the same amount of returning guys as we had guys finish games. And so I think if you're looking at the production and looking at guys we have a lot of players that got valuable reps. And so, that's great that they have that, but we're going to need to develop our players to be in that position to battle those guys. And the guys with all that great returning experience that you mentioned, that's something that we need to prove it. And so with all those teams that had, how many games they played and all that experience that they have, they're going to hang on those to help carry them into the season. Great, but we're going to go to work and get better, and we're going to have to be that much better if we're going against guys who have so much experience and so much going for them. We've got a lot of work to do, and we'll use that. That's going to be a great motivation for us.
A-Rod kind of touched on that a little bit, just as far as the hunger he saw from some of the leaders coming out of 2019, said it really made a difference for the team in 2020. Now coming off a very successful season, what has to happen for that same mentality to keep going, to moving forward? Yeah,
great question. Last year's plan doesn't work for this year. So that worked for last year, and that was great, and we saw some really good things. This year, the plan's got to be different, and we met as a team about it already. We've talked about it. Last year in January, we talked about what we want from the team that year, and this year is way different. It's a different a meeting, a different set of goals, and a lot of that. We got to still keep that chip on our shoulder type of attitude, something to prove. There's a lot of things for us to prove. I mean, we had a really good year. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of people that still doubt us, and there's a lot of people that don't believe that we have good enough talent here, even with the guys that we saw perform today. Obviously, we saw that we had a lot of speed on our team and guys that ran well and look athletic. And so maybe there's people that think that that's all we have is those guys that just graduated and the guys that came out early. So we have a lot of guys here that I think need to prove some things, and they have a lot to prove to others, and we're going to keep working with that. And so, the key is it's going to take work, and it's going to take humility, guys being humble, and we haven't arrived. We haven't done anything yet, so we've got to find a quarterback that's going to be the best out of the bunch and then rally around him. But in every other position, we've got to find a way to get better at every position group, and make sure that we're ready to go when we go to Vegas and play that first game. And our guys, from what I saw in spring, I'm really excited. I'm really excited with the hunger that I'm seeing in these guys' eyes, and the guys that are ready to and excited to prove something.
Worry at all about health? I know that some nicks and things happened that made you decide against a more traditional spring game. Is that a concern moving forward, or is it more just a situational thing this week?
No, I think going into the training, I don't think we need to be in football season shape right now. This is a phase where we're trying to get stronger as a group, and so forcing our guys to do full contact often isn't very smart. So our approach going into the season, we met about it as a team and we met about it as a staff. we set our goals, we figured out ways to execute it, and every movement that we make and decision that we make it's got to be deliberate, meaning that there's a plan in place, not just throwing things against the wall and hoping that it sticks. This is something that's deliberate, and the decision to make it a practice. I mean, I know a lot of people want to see our team get out there and want to see them run around, but if we're being honest, it would have been really generic, because we're not. I mean, we're probably not going to show everything that we can do, and that's not just unique to us. Everyone in spring, if they're showing their spring game, they're not putting out all the stuff that they're really good at or the stuff that they're going to focus on in the fall. They're trying to keep that a competitive advantage, so so when you do that, it almost feels like a wasted practice. Do you know what I mean? And today we're able to do everything on defense, and so you're going to see a lot of these spring games where the defense is really generic and they're just running maybe one defense, and the offense has got a small call sheet, and then they're doing that just to give a show and all that. And I get it, but I thought it was really important that we use the practice to get better as a program and as a team. That our offense needs to get out there and execute plays that we're going to actually try to do against Arizona and do in 2021 season. And so with that being said, it would be nice to have our defense do everything as well, and we've got some young guys that need to work on that, and really not a lot of practices to waste. And so the decision to do that had a big factor in that decision to just go and practice and instead of playing a game. And I apologize to people for that wanted to see us get out there and play, but I think they'll be thankful we did that when it gets to the fall.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take questions from Sean and Jay next.
Coach, you touched on this a little bit. Sort of send home your guys pretty well motivated and with a good plan for in-home workouts and that kind of thing. Was that a big part of your talk with them now that as you're exiting spring ball of kind of that individual work and maybe even setting them up with some in-home workouts and that sort of thing, like letting them know that like this is where we really get better is when you guys now step away, the coaches?
Yeah, I mean, with the NCAA rules, you're only allowed a certain amount of time that's mandatory for the players. But I think when you give the guys time to do things on their own, the intrinsic motivation's got to be key, and the pandemic forced our team to do things individually, and do things we did things through Zoom and found ways to bond during that pandemic when the quarantine happened, and that was such a huge motivation for our players because I saw a group come back after we had that quarantine where I think June 1st our guys came back and they were in great shape. So they did some work on their own and they were able to accomplish a lot of things, a lot of goals. Guys got stronger during that time, and so we're going to have to give them time off. But during that time, I hope that they bring that same approach. And now, we have some thoughts and some things that they can do, but I think for most part we talk about goals and strengths and weaknesses and try to focus on those. And so if we have a player that's trying to change his body type and maybe looking at doing better with nutrition and trying to lose some body fat, that's something that we've been focused on for a while as position coaches, and we set these goals with our players, and they go out and they accomplish it, and it's going to mean more to them when they get that done in this time off. When we get them back together, the player run practices, the time that they spend together, the extra time that they do things, the time that they spend watching film, I think is going to be key, and we have a good culture of that already happening. But as long as we keep promoting our guys to keep working together, and the key is the work. It's just not going to happen on its own. So we have a bunch of guys that love to work that are feeding off of what we did and what they did last year during the off season, and I think that's going to carry over to this year. And there's going to be a few things that are a little bit different, but I think for the most part it's going to be centered around them getting better and getting stronger.
Kalani, as you move into the off season, the transfer portal, The NCAA might allow players to not or to be immediately eligible, first-time transfer. Is there a position group now that you've gone through 15 practices that you feel like you might need some help in?
Oh, we'll take great players everywhere. So I think that regardless, I think we can anticipate that decision to be made about the transfer rule and all that soon. But I think we're always going to be looking for ways to improve, and that sometimes that's adding players. So that's always going to be a big part of what we do as a program, and we're always looking for good kids that are committed to what the mission of the school and the church and this team is about.
And I wanted to ask you, Coach Roderick has talked about the benefit of catching a defense off guard, not letting them prepare for one specific quarterback. Do you have that same philosophy as a defensive coach, a defensive background, that you might want to keep Arizona guessing right up to the end and might not even name a starter?
Well, I think right now, if they were to watch film, they have to watch film on a bunch of different guys, and so there's an advantage there. But as soon as we know the guy that has earned it, then we'll try to make that decision right away. So, but I think the key is I think you can play around with that a little bit, but I think more than anything, you don't want to be focused on that. I think when we know the guy that's earned it and the time of it, then we just go ahead and make that decision. And that's I anticipate hopefully getting that done as soon as possible. But knowing that we have time leading up to the first game, that decision doesn't have to be made now, fortunately. And the quarterbacks are playing so well right now, and so we're going to. Like I said, I'll play the best one. That's the only way I know how to do it, and that's at every position.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
All right, guys, stay safe. Appreciate it.